Growing your own food in your own gardens is a super rewarding activity. But I do get asked every so often, is it worth it from a cost perspective? And the answer to that isn't as straightforward as you might like, but I'm here to tell you today that growing food doesn't have to cost very much money. Now, I watch a lot of YouTube gardening videos, and I see some people with some really elaborate and expensive growing systems, and they're super awesome, but you don't have to spend lots of money to be able to get really good food from your own garden. This video is in 3 sections, so you can go ahead and jump to whichever section you think is most relevant. First, we're going to talk about the things you need to keep in mind when you're planning and growing in your garden system, so sort of the philosophical stuff. I'm going to tell you about my gardening journey, how I went from the beginning to where I am now, which is really not having to spend very much money on growing my vegetables, and then we're going to talk about really specific strategies for saving you money right now. Before we get into the specific details of strategies to save money, you need to think about what is your gardening philosophy, what's your plan, and that will help keep you focused on what are the important things so you don't get sort of dragged in different directions, spending bits of money here, there, and everywhere. You understand where your goals are and where you're heading. So for me, that is that I use an ecological gardening system, which keeps me focused on the soil health in my gardens and the environment that the gardens are in, and that includes plants that aren't what I'm growing for food. So that helps to keep me focused on the important things that my system needs and stops me most of the time from making impulsive decisions to purchase things that might not actually be necessary. The most important thing you can do to start saving money is to just get started growing, because you're going to make mistakes, and those mistakes might end up costing you some money. So the sooner you get on to making those mistakes, the sooner you're going to get to a place where you have a deeper understanding of what you're doing, and you're going to be able to fix those mistakes or avoid making them altogether. So just get started. Whatever you have right now, just give it a go and get growing. For me, I found it really important to keep notes about what I'm doing in the garden and the outcomes of what I'm doing. And that helps me to focus on the things that are going well and do more of that, and to consider whether the things that are going not so well are worth continuing to do, if I need to invest more knowledge, understanding into those things, or if I just move on and call them not gonna happen. For me, one of the things I've just moved on from is I don't grow watermelons anymore. And the last thing in this little philosophical section is go slowly. Make small improvements every year. Don't try and do all the things the first year you start or the second year you start. Add something each year so you can focus on doing it really well, because gardening is a lot of work. And if you start trying to do everything, saving seeds, starting your own plants, doing all the things, you're going to get overwhelmed, and none of the things are going to get done very well. So small improvements over time will get you where you want to go faster than trying to do everything at once. When I first started gardening in a serious manner, which was about 5 or 6 years ago, so when I started to really get passionate about growing food for my family, I had a general idea of what I wanted to do with that ecological minded thinking in the garden, but I didn't really know what I was doing within that system. And that caused me to not be super focused. And so I spent money that might not have needed to be spent in experiments. Now, I've learned lots from all of those things, so it wasn't really a failure or wasted money at the end of the day, but you can be a little bit more focused than I was. The main thing that helps me with my gardening system on my gardening journey is my chicken flock, and they really provide the underpinning to the whole system, because they make the chicken yard compost that turns into the compost that goes onto my garden beds, and it also turns into the compost I use in my seed raising mix and my potting mix. So lots of these systems start to stack on top of each other and weave together in a way that starts to mean you don't have to go to the gardening store and buy things. So in my case, that means I no longer need to go and buy seed starting mix or potting mix or compost, all of these things that really help in saving money. Now, you might want to not have as many chickens as I have for an efficient system, but they're really important. I also have a worm farm, well, several worm farms now, and they also help in allowing me to continue to improve my soil health over time without spending money on extra fertilizers or biological improvements and things like that. There's a lot of marketing that goes into products at the garden store, and if you stay focused on constantly improving your soil health, you'll be able to make good choices about what products are worth having and which are probably not worth having. What you want is for your garden to constantly improve over time. So for me, that went from a situation where years ago I had to put quite a lot of attention and effort into keeping my plants healthy over the growing season. For a couple of years, I was going out to fertigate, which is spraying fertilizers onto the plant leaf surfaces. Maybe every week to 2 weeks through the whole growing season, I was out there with my spray bottle getting that fertilizer onto my plants. Now, that was a lot of time, and whilst it wasn't a super expensive product I was using, it wasn't free. Now I've got to a position this year where I have not had to fertigate at all through the growing season. My plants have been healthy, the yields have been amazing. I got over 30 kilos of tomatoes this year and I was really happy with that. But these things don't happen overnight. I've put a focused attention on improving my soil over time to get me to a place where I don't have to put in as many things to get a good result. Let's talk about the specific things that I recommend you start putting into your gardening system to actually start saving you money. And the first thing is get chickens. Now, you might not be able to have chickens, but if you can, get a small flock of chickens. About 5 chickens is really all you need to get the benefits and keeping them at an affordable level. I might have a few more than 5, but generally speaking, 5 chickens will let you make chicken yard compost and use your chickens to help you with gardening tasks, and that will keep your system ticking along and moving forward. I recommend using livestock manure as a major component of your gardening system. My preference is horse manure, and the reason I say that is because horses are sort of considered not really livestock. They're more considered pets. So horse owners spend a lot of money on feeding their horses really, really well, and that means that horse manure at the other end is often really rich in a range of micronutrients that you might not get from other animal manure. So if you can find horse manure, and there are lots of options to get it, there might be a stable close by, or you can drive out and collect it, and it's usually free if you go and get it yourself. I highly recommend using that. You can compost it or you can put it direct onto your garden beds, but it is the way to go. But any livestock manure, goat, sheep, cow, will also give you benefits. Manure is really good for the major nutrients of nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus that plants need a lot of, so it's good for that. And again, the micronutrients, particularly from horse manure, you may as well benefit from all that money that horse owners like to spend on their horses. Make your own compost. Now, I do not have the time or the energy or the interest to make compost piles and work out all the ratios and do hot composting, so what I do is I use my chicken yard compost. If I wasn't using my chicken yard compost, I would do more worm farming than I do to make vermicompost or worm compost. Now, if you can't do either of those options, then go ahead and make your own compost. It is a little bit of a learning curve, so get started on learning how to make it, but if at all possible, use chickens or worms to do the hard work for you. And speaking about compost, use the opportunity to gather up any free organic matter wherever you can find it. So that could be things like fallen leaves in autumn. Go out and get as many as you can. It could be overgrown grasses, cut them down. You can use them as your own mulches or again as feedstock for your compost. All of these things, weeds that you've pulled off the garden, plants that have died at the end of the growing season, all of this is organic matter that is absolutely essential essential for keeping your system low cost. And you can take those free materials, put them in your chicken run, feed them to your worm farm, or use them to use in your composting system, and that will help just keep everything ticking along. Buy good quality when you need to buy something, be that a fertilizer or a garden tool or something that you need in your system, like seed starting mats or something like that. It always pays to spend a little bit extra at the time you need it than find a cheaper product that might not last as long. Good quality garden equipment is going to last many, many seasons, and that is ultimately going to save you money in the long run. But do think about it before you make the purchase, if you actually need that thing or if there is a way that you can do it in a different way that doesn't mean you don't need to buy that thing in the first place. That is going to be very personal on a case-by-case basis, but try to buy good quality when you can. I highly recommend that people start their own seeds. So growing your seedlings on from seeds that you have brought in a packet and started yourself. Now, you don't necessarily want to do this in your very first growing season because it does take some time to learn how to do it well, but a seed starting setup will very quickly pay itself back in you not having to buy seedlings, which can be quite expensive if you have to go to the store and buy seedlings for all the plants that you need. So learning how and investing in a seed starting system is going to pay itself back really quickly, and I highly recommend you get the skills and the equipment you need to do that. You don't need expensive gardens to get started gardening. I've got these raised beds here. That's for a specific reason, because they're covering an area where a swimming pool used to be that got filled in, so I'm a bit limited in my options for this space. But you can grow directly in the ground if your soil is good, or you can make raised mounds just with soil and compost and grow directly into that. You don't have to have a frame around your garden or anything like that, or you can use large grow bags and just fill them up. There's lots of ways to just get started that doesn't cost a lot of money out of the gate. I just want to reiterate that the thing that is going to get you the best results for the least amount of money is staying focused on improving your soil health. So focus your time, your attention, and your money on improving the whole ecosystem of your growing space, and that will over time give you the absolute best bang for your buck.